Now, the British primarily focused on the North during the beginning of the Revolutionary War, and that's because they assumed that the South was still pretty loyal. They thought that the South would just kind of go along with Great Britain and not really fight too much, which they were wrong about. And they also knew that the North was the heavy area of rebellion and where, you know, most of the manufacturing and stuff was, so that they wanted to take care of that first before they took care of the South. But they were wrong. Now, after the French joined the war, the British began to turn some more of their attention to the South and make sure that they could get a good stronghold in the South. In 1778, 1779, the British came in and they did take the major cities of the South. They took Savannah and Charleston. So these big cities in the South were taken over by the British. However, what they found was that it was easy for them to control the big cities, but once they got out into the spread out rural, that's a hard word to say, rural areas, it was much harder to control, and the British didn't have very much control, so they were just kind of stuck in the cities. Now, the American forces had to kind of retreat north. The armies retreated north up to North Carolina. Now, a big thing happened here. During this time period, Nathaniel Greene came and took over the forces. Now, Nathaniel Greene ended up being George Washington's very reliable right-hand man. He could go places that George Washington couldn't because he was busy somewhere else, and really take care of things well. Nathaniel Greene really showed himself to be one of the great military leaders for the colonists during the Revolutionary War. Now, at this point, Nathaniel Greene came down and took over the forces. Now, there was lots of good heavy battle fighting back and forth. In general, the British kept winning and winning. But what the Americans did is they decided that they would lose, but they would never lose big. They would always know when to retreat, when to run away so they could come back and fight another day. In fact, their motto became, "We fight, get beat, rise and fight again." And they did this over and over and over again just to continue to wear down the British troops, to wear down their supplies, to wear down their desire, all those things. They just would fight and then retreat and then come back and fight again. And this proved to be super, super, super successful for the Americans. Now, they lost a lot of battles, but they were able to keep coming back and wear down the British troops. There's a big battle at Guilford Courthouse where Cornwallis, he was the British commander, Cornwallis and Nathaniel Greene met, and they fought, and again the British won, but Greene's army did not break, and the Cornwallis and his group lost so many supplies that he had to retreat away, leaving the Americas with control over Carolina and Georgia again. So Nathaniel Greene really came down and changed the way they fought down there to wear down the British, and were able to finally push the British out of most of the South and take over those big cities again. So Nathaniel Greene, huge influence, helped in the South with that kind of we fight, we get beat, we rise, and we fight again mentality that really helped the colonists control the South when really they weren't tough enough to take on the forces, but they were smart enough to take on the British forces.